Hi everyone, this is the video you've been waiting for. I finally unpacked my Simon Hurley inks so I can do the comparison between the Simon Hurley felt ink pads and his brand new Simon Hurley Stellar ink pads. Now, from what Simon has said, the colors that have the same name, and I have here Prom Queen, Clear Skies, and Shooting Star, you can mix the reinkers. So I have all the reinkers for these, so I should be able to reink these. There are some new colors, like he didn't have this green before, which is called 4, and I don't believe he had a black before, which is called Black Widow. So we are going to test these out. So the couple of things we're going to test out is how do they stamp? What is the blending ability? Are they water reactive? Can I watercolor with them? Basically all the same things I would have done with his normal inks. Can I do those with these inks? And I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be yes. And so the difference is A, he's bringing out some more colors, and B, whether or not you prefer spongy ink pads over felt ink pads. I am a spongy ink pad girl, so I have been using these. If you watch my last couple of videos, any chance I can get, and I know they work really great, so I'm happy to see Simon release these, and they're really nice. But right now we're going to do just a swatch comparison. I have his stamp set here under the C. So I'm just going to pull these stamps out. And we're going to do a stamp comparison of the colors here. Okay, so let's try to pick something that has a lot of and have my Simon Hurley block here. Okay, so I'm going to start with the original color, Prom Queen here. So the difference is with felt ink pads, I find that I kind of have to dig into the ink pad. I really have to push my stamp in, kind of do a little squishy dance. I just got ink on my finger. To really get that good coverage. It really comes in handy if you are using like a Stamping Misty or something like that, because if you don't get full coverage, then you need to re-ink, and that's the difference. Is these felt ink pads, and these are all built on the same ink platform, but the difference is the felt ink pads are very stiff, and you really kind of have to re-ink a few times. Okay. And I'm going to show you the difference. You really saw how I was kind of jamming in there with that Prom Queen. Now I'm going to show you the difference with spongy ink pads, okay? And you can see I put a lot of ink on there, and I still kind of miss the center of the stamp there. Can you see that little missed spot? I'm going to clean my stamp. Just have some stamp cleaner I sprayed on there. I'm going to wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the same color, Prom Queen, but I'm going to do that with his Stellar ink pad, which is a spongy ink pad. And you can see the look of the spongy ink pad. It really is different. I don't want to stick my finger into it, but I want to show you how soft and squishy it is. It's very soft, very squishy, and the ink really just slides off of there very easily. So when you are stamping with foam ink pads or spongier ink pads, some of the companies that also do this would be like Stampin' Up, Catherine Pooler, some of the Simon Says stamp inks are foam ink pads, is that you don't want to do that really like squishing it in. It's a very light love tap. I mean, I'm barely just touching the ink pad, okay? I'm not pushing into it because otherwise you're going to oversaturate this, okay? So I'm just barely kissing that ink pad very, very lightly, and you can see how easily that ink goes on there. Now look at the difference when we stamp it on this side. Look at how much more saturation of ink we have between a felt ink pad and a foam ink pad. This is not because this is a bright color either, okay? And the colors do seem to match. All right, let's try this with Shooting Star. I'm going to switch the color of stamp because these stamps have dies, so I can cut them out. Let's see here. Let's go in with this guy. Okay, so Shooting Star, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go in with my, I almost mixed them up, felt ink pad. Really going to load him up with a lot of ink. Okay. I stamped out pretty good. I really pressed into that hard. And now I'm going to use the Stellar ink pad, and it literally says on here foam pad. And it will just lightly kiss, okay? You don't want to squish it in because then ink's going to ooze all into your stamp and around your stamp block, and you're going to get ink where you don't want it. So just very gently, that's all you're going to do. Very gently, just tap it. And again, you can see the color is much brighter because I'm getting more ink on the stamp, but I'm not losing any of the detail in the stamp. Okay. All right, and let's go in with another fish and another color. I'm going in with Clear Skies. Okay, not terrible. Pretty good coverage. And it's just a really personal preference of what you like. The foam ink pads take a minute to get used to, but I think once you see how saturated you get the stamp pad and the inks, that one looks like the colors mix. It looks like some green. Oh, you know what? I was doing some ombre stamping. Yes, that's my fault. Some of that ink transferred over. Okay, and you can see just pushing that too much, I got ink on my stamp block. So you don't want to overdo that. So the colors, yes, do match. So you don't need to buy new reinkers unless you're getting a new color like that color 4, which we're going to stamp out next. I will take a tissue and clean that green off of there in a minute. So on this one, this is a new color. We didn't have this color in the felt pads. It is only in the foam pad. So if you're happy with your felt pads and you don't need to buy new inks, maybe you just get the new colors. So 4 is a new color. And I love this color green. It's like a mossy kind of green. Beautiful color green. Love that one. Great addition to Simon's collection. He has a lot of beautiful colors. Okay, and then I wanted to also stamp the black and see how it does and if it stains our stamps. So this is funny. The sentiment says, "Oh, Carp, I forgot your birthday." Okay, it's a beautiful color ink. And it does not look like it stains our ink pads. So that's good. That means that you can use this and watercolor with it as you stamp. Okay, so the other thing I said that I wanted to test out, which I've already tested out in another video, was how do these work if I do want to watercolor with them, right? So, for example, what I would normally do is take the ink and ink smush it down on my board. And this is a glass mat that I'm using. And then pick up a water brush and then simply start to color with it. So yes, these inks work beautifully. I already knew that. I already tested this on another project. This is just a Stampin' Up! Blender pen, but you can use a Tombow blender pen. And that's all you would do is just pick that up and color in your stamped images, you know, whatever you want to do. So they do work beautifully. You can also use a watercolor brush and watercolor with them. So this is a more precise way of coloring. I'm just cleaning the color out of my brush here. But if you wanted to use a watercolor brush, let me grab one of those real quick. All right, so I have a simple watercolor brush here. You can simply dilute that down and make that ink more of a watercolor consistency. And now I can, again, color in, making it a watercolor. And that will lighten the color if you need to, okay? All right, so we know that that works. Obviously, I can dip into this and do ink smushing if you wanted to do that. So that is also available. We want to see if it's water reactive. A lot of you guys like to do the flicking of the water technique and seeing if the inks are water reactive. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do it with the black, actually. You can go direct to paper and color your paper any color you want. That's a lot easier to do. See how clean that is? When you try to do that with a felt pad, sometimes it's not as, see, it's kind of streaky. And that's not because your ink pad is dry, just because it's a felt ink pad. And that's why the images don't always stamp as nice. Okay, so now I'm just going to take some water. Now this paper soaks up pretty quickly, so this may or may not immediately react. Yeah. So these are water reactive. You can see it already starting to move at the top here, and it will blot up, but this paper just soaked it right in. So if this were a normal paper, you would be able to do that. This one is a heavier paper. All right, so the other thing I wanted to do was to do some ink blending. I've shown this, I believe, as well. And you can use a sponge or a brush, whatever you want to use, but they will blend beautifully. If you wanted to do backgrounds, you should start off the mat, not on, so you don't have that big red blob like I just made there. We'll ignore that. That's Nancy's terrible technique. That's Prom Queen. And since these are dye inks, you can mix them with any other dye inks you have as well. Okay, we're going to go off the mat onto the mat. So you can see that they blend together, they mix beautifully, which, again, if you've watched the last couple videos I've done, I really have been trying to put these inks through all kinds of tests here. And you can see how that's blending into an orange in the center there. So they blend beautifully. They stamp beautifully. You can watercolor with them. So overall, yes, these are a winner. I love this green color. I'm just going to show the green up here because I want to blend that blue in there. So we don't really need the green, but I just want to show how beautiful it blends out. And the secret to good blending is have a nice smooth paper, but also have a dirty brush. You want a lot of ink on your brush. And start off your paper and work your way onto the paper. Otherwise, you get that big blob like I have there. Okay, and this is Clear Skies. And I'm going to Try to lift some of that green out of there. That's from me double stamping. All right. And again, you can see how beautifully that blends with the shooting star and makes a nice light green. It blends with the 4 and makes like a teal color. Blending it with Prom Queen and getting a nice lilac color. So you can see, yeah, I like these inks. Many different places you can get them from. I got them from Inky Antics during a stamp show, but you can also get them from scrapbook.com, Scrapbook Pal, Ranger, obviously, which creates these inks. They make the inks. So wonderful, wonderful set of inks. I am very, very impressed. Congratulations again to Simon. I will be switching over, and again, it's just personal preference, but I will be switching over the ink pads that I already have to the new Stellar inks and then adding whatever colors that Simon would add, like the 4. So very happy to see these. I have always been a foam ink pad girl. So thank you, Simon, for coming out with these. And yeah, if you're a foam ink pad person, I definitely recommend them. Not to say if you like the felt ink pads are bad. It's just personal preference of what you like when you're stamping, and they work exactly the same, and you can use the reinkers that you already have. All right, guys, if you have any questions, post them down below. If you're interested in this stamp and die set, you can pick it up at Spellbinders and Scrapbook.com as well. This is called Under the Sea. I made a beautiful card with this set and using some lunar paste. So you can also check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next video. If you have any questions, post them below. If you enjoyed watching this video and checking out these new inks, I'll have a link down below if you want to do some shopping. It helps to support me. And give this video a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.